Hi, I'm Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. In a minute, you'll hear a message about the importance of local businesses and communities they serve. I want to take a moment to share how you can help the local communities of Southern California that have been devastated by the recent wildfires. Loved ones, homes, and businesses have been lost in this disaster. It's heartbreaking to see once vibrant and bustling communities completely hollowed out. There are no words to accurately convey the losses so many of our friends and neighbors are experiencing. As Angelinos rally together in the aftermath of this disaster, we are grateful for the first responders working around the clock to keep people safe, as well as the organizations and nonprofits working to deploy assistance to those most in need. If you're looking for ways to help our community, the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce has resources available for impacted businesses and those looking to help. You can find more information at lachamber.com by looking at our disaster relief button. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation also has a list of trusted organizations responding to the most immediate needs on the ground. The foundation plays a critical role in supporting communities impacted by natural disaster across the United States. They connect leaders from business, government, and nonprofits to solve problems and respond in moments of crisis. We know the path to recovery will be long and the full damages are yet to be realized. With your support, I know the community of Los Angeles will build back even stronger than before. Thank you.
At the turn of the 20th century, America was a land of limitless possibility. The skyline rose with steel and ambition, bold, daring, and unstoppable. Fueled by the American dream, small-town entrepreneurs built companies that reshaped industries and uplifted their communities. Innovation became the heartbeat of our nation. In 1912, local business leaders united with a shared purpose: to create a single voice dedicated to defending free enterprise, empowering businesses to serve people, provide solutions, and strengthen society. That voice became the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, committed to advancing economic freedom and opportunity for every American. For over a century, we've been a driving force at the crossroads of progress, shattering barriers, fueling growth, and creating opportunities for people building better lives. We don't just support business, we ignite it. From local startups to global enterprises, we create an environment where potential thrives, empowering communities, leaders, and creators to transform bold ideas into lasting impact. Working with and for a local, national, and global federation of partners, we fight for American businesses in the courts, in state capitals, in Washington, and on the world stage. Steadfast in our principles, unwavering in our resolve, uncompromising in doing what's right. This is America's story, written with vision, bound by conviction, illustrated through courage, and enriched by the hard work of everyday people, local business owners, and global visionaries who continue to define us. It's an enduring legacy of strength, determination, and shared ambition. One we proudly build upon as we work to write the next chapter of our nation's story. Join us. Together, let's build a future of growth and opportunity for the pursuit.
The state of American business is local because businesses serve people where they are. And if you think about it, that makes all business local. That's true, of course, of the small businesses that line main streets and locally headquartered businesses that employ hundreds or even thousands of people in a community and drive its economic ecosystem. It's also true of the national chain restaurant where you had your first job, the tech company that produces the equipment, and the internet service provider that together enable you to work from your kitchen table or your home office. The energy producers that power your vehicles so you can drive across town, the institutions that provide the financing so you can start a business in your basement, the food growers and distributors that enable your kids to have fruit for breakfast, the pharmaceutical company that invests in research to produce the medicine you can pick up at your neighborhood pharmacy within minutes of a doctor visit, the global retailer that develops the supply chains that deliver products from anywhere in the world to your doorstep and builds the facilities and warehouses that employ your neighbors and friends. Wherever a company, a service, a product, or a solution originates, its impact is always local, because local is where we live our lives. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is proudly headquartered in Washington, D.C., right across from the White House, because more than 112 years ago, local chambers founded the institution so business would have a unified voice in our nation's capital. We spend a lot of time working outside of D.C. too, because the economic growth that powers people's lives comes from cities and regions and states where private enterprise, supported by smart public policy, drives progress and creates opportunity. And that kind of public-private partnership not only helps propel thriving communities, but helps rebuild devastated communities in the aftermath of disaster. One of the best parts of my job is getting to travel across the country to meet the people who serve their communities, to listen and to learn so we can champion them and support their work. And today, I'm bringing all of you along with me to a part of the country that exemplifies the growth, innovation, and opportunity possible in America's vibrant free enterprise system. Welcome to Dallas, Texas, part of the fast-growing North Texas region. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and similarly vibrant regions across the country have a few things in common: a diverse industrial base, low unemployment, and a deep pool of talent, a healthy mix of small businesses serving and enriching their communities, and big businesses bringing jobs, economic activity, and tax revenue, robust infrastructure and access to global markets, and a flourishing innovation ecosystem. All of that fuels a growing economy powered by businesses of every size, and in turn draws more people in as they seek opportunities and advancement in their own lives. And when you come to a place like this, you really feel the energy. It's palpable. We're here not just to celebrate this region's success, but to spotlight what makes that success possible and how it can be replicated in other parts of the country. Because we all know there are too many places, too many communities that don't feel the energy, that don't see the growth. And we must be a nation where local communities are not left behind, where there are no food deserts, where crime doesn't crowd out commerce, where private investment is welcome, where young people want to stay and return and build businesses and careers, where people can get ahead and provide for their families. Not every community can, should, or wants to be the next booming metropolis, but they all want the economic growth that provides the quality of life and promise of opportunity that all Americans want. When the economy grows, productivity and investments grow, employment opportunities and consumer choice expand, incomes and buying power increase, and education, infrastructure, and safety improve. Growth won't solve all of our problems, but we can't solve any of them without it. So we need more growth and fast. To provide some context, in 2024, the U.S. economy did pretty well, especially compared to other developed nations, growing at close to 3%. To be clear, that is a growth rate that makes America the envy of our global peers. And the outlook for 2025 is increasingly positive. But over the medium and long term, there are major economic headwinds, with most economists expecting that growth to cool to below 2% this decade. 3 to 2% might not sound like a big drop or a big deal, but consider the difference 1% of growth makes. When our economy is growing at 3%, someone who's born today will see their living standard double by their early 20s. At 2% growth, that living standard doesn't double until someone's in their mid 30s. Think about that. One additional point of growth speeds up economic advancement in people's lives by more than a decade. And that is the message Americans sent in November. No matter who they voted for, the people signaled to Washington they want more growth and opportunities for themselves and their families. So how can we strengthen economic growth today and sustain it for the future? How can we ensure that it's felt in every local community and every American's life? Greater growth will be driven by businesses in local communities if it's supported by smart public policy. And here in Dallas, on behalf of American businesses in every corner of this country, I want to deliver a very clear message to policymakers and elected officials. All policy is local. Too often, this simple fact gets lost in the debate and deal-making of federal policy. But the real-world impact on businesses and communities, individuals and families must be front and center as the 119th Congress and incoming administration act on a slate of challenges and opportunities. Here are 3 federal priorities that will be make or break for communities everywhere this year. First, starting in 2025, there is an urgent need to roll back the worst of the regulatory onslaught of the past 4 years. As it stands, this unprecedented, bureaucratic micromanagement of business will cost the economy $1.4 trillion and trickle down into Americans' lives and pocketbooks through higher prices, lower wages, and fewer jobs. That's why the U.S. Chamber has fought over regulation in the courts, with a lot of important wins for business and the economy. And we will continue to work with the administration, as we did in President Trump's first term, on this shared priority. Next, if the competitive tax provisions of 2017 are allowed to expire this year, the largest federal tax hike in American history will be very real and very personal for people and local communities. Higher taxes decrease spending power, depress wages, discourage investment in job-creating projects, and drive companies to relocate to more competitive markets overseas, taking jobs and economic activity out of the U.S. Over the past year, we have been educating new members of Congress on the high stakes. 60% of lawmakers were not in office when Republicans passed pro-growth tax reform, and it's critical that they understand what these policies will mean for the people they represent. Finally, to boost economic growth, America must participate in the global economy. There are opportunities to boost trade, which already supports 40 million U.S. jobs. It makes the goods and services we all need more affordable. To expand exports and help small businesses reach global markets. To welcome imports that increase consumer choice and help keep prices low. There are opportunities, but there are also challenges when it comes to national security, unfair trading practices, fentanyl trafficking, and border security. Tariffs can be a tool, for instance, to counter unfairly traded goods, those subsidized or dumped in our market. However, blanket tariffs would worsen the cost of living crisis, forcing Americans to pay even more for daily essentials like groceries, gas, furniture, appliances, and clothing. And retaliation by our trading partners will hit our farmers and manufacturers hard, with ripple effects across the economy. The bottom line is this: tariffs are a tax paid by Americans, and their broad and indiscriminate use would stifle growth at the worst possible time. Participating in the global economy, preventing the largest tax hike in American history, and reining in regulations have to be on this year's agenda. And they aren't the only pro-growth priorities. In 2024, we saw emerging bipartisan consensus in Congress on immigration, artificial intelligence, permitting reform, and more. Republicans and Democrats alike must prioritize completing work on these key issues that are critical to America's stronger future. The actions our policymakers take will impact our nation's prospects for growth, your community's potential for strength, and all Americans' pursuit of their dreams. That's why state and local chambers and business associations created the U.S. Chamber more than a century ago, so we could be your voice and advocate. And it's why our mission to advance and protect the free enterprise system endures today. So we remain a nation where our brightest days are always ahead. And so all across the country, the next generation of local businesses can continue to solve problems, serve people, and strengthen society. More than 8 million Americans call this region home. Here, you'll find every kind of business you can imagine, whether that's food, apparel, finance, construction, oil and gas, manufacturing, or professional sports. So what is it that makes this region so competitive? Why is it such a great place to do business? And what makes it one of the fastest growing parts of the country? I had the opportunity to speak with a major figure in American sports, an entrepreneur and businessman whose teams have racked up Super Bowl victories and who has been instrumental in growing the popularity of Major League Soccer in Dallas and the United States. Dan Hunt is co-owner of the Kansas City Chiefs and is president and co-owner of FC Dallas. I talked with Dan about his extensive business background in North Texas and how he helped the DFW Metroplex secure World Cup matches next year. So here we have soccer, one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and you're able to somehow attract the World Cup to the United States. Your family's getting a lot of credit for it. How did we get here?
Yeah, look, it's a long journey. My father, Lamar, started back in professional soccer in the 1960s, and we always joke about him being about 40 or 50 years too early. But you're right, it is one of the fastest growing sports, really in America, on a professional level. It is the world sport, right? And the popularity that goes with that. But you see what's happening in MLS and what franchise values are, which is, up to $500 million now just for the franchise, which I can remember a day when they were free. So we've come a long ways from that standpoint. But the reason the World Cup is coming back in 2026 is the true economic driver that is the United States. These games are going to be played in the NFL stadiums around, like here in Dallas at AT&T Stadium or at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. And the revenue that can be generated is like nothing, you see anywhere else in major soccer stadiums, because it's luxury suites, it's club seats. If anything, we know how to monetize professional sports in the United States.
So here we are at FC Dallas, at this stadium that you were instrumental in constructing in the 2000s. You are overseeing a reconstruction now. Why here? Why North Texas?
My father knew that Frisco, Texas was going to be a business epicenter. He said, guys, I'll be long gone, when he was talking to Clark and I about this project. But he said, I will put you in the middle of the Metroplex one day. He said, the toll road will go to Oklahoma, which eventually it will go to Oklahoma. But he said, just being off the toll road in such a dynamic business community with leadership that gets it. That's a big part of it. And that's really Texas politics, right? From Governor Abbott on down, you have all these officials that understand that, driving business, tax-friendly environments, incentives are the things that lure businesses, lure companies, sports franchises. And these sports franchises are really assets of the community. They're sort of the rallying cry, if you will. And we're fortunate to have so many great teams here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
One of the things you and I have talked before about the fact that the sports teams are here, but then that starts to drive sports medicine here and sports management here, and the impact it has on the community, small businesses, vendors, logistics companies, hotels. I mean, the impact and the ecosystem that it creates, it doesn't just benefit big business, does it?
No, here at Toyota Stadium and Soccer Center, we have almost 2 million annual visitors. And we do everything from FC Dallas games to the FCS National Championship football game to college bowl games, concerts, youth tournaments. That's a big part of our business. The amount of hotel nights that this venue generates is truly unbelievable. The last time we did an economic impact study, the number was around $140 million a year for this community. And we're going to be redoing our stadium coming up and taking it from what was the third soccer-specific stadium built, and really my father's vision of how Major League Soccer was going to make it, where teams were going to have their own stadiums. We were playing in giant NFL stadiums. It wasn't working, but having your own home that's right-sized for the business at the time. Well, now FC Dallas has outgrown our current home. And so we're really excited about our $182 million project here. We'll almost triple the number of suites, go 6,000 club seats. This will be an amazing revenue driver. Recently, we just had the FCS National Championship football game, and it was their largest revenue game ever. And we grew it year over year by 18%, which is just an amazing statistic if you think about it in 1 year growth on this football game. So we're excited about what this new venue, I'm calling it a new venue because spending this kind of money, I'm not even sure it'll be recognizable for fans, but we think we'll be able to do so many more concerts, more football. We have ambitious plans. I mean, it'd be nice to host lacrosse or rugby here. And then as soccer continues to grow, there's more international opponents for us. MLS continues to grow, the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. So many different revenue streams and great games. And to your point earlier, my dad, this is one of the things that really stood out. My dad was a visionary. Lamar Hunt is really the father of modern sports. I would like to say, NFL, Major League Soccer, an investor in the NBA, created World Championship tennis. But so often we would go around and people would stop him and say, hey, I just want to thank you. I wound up with a job in sports because of you. And that wasn't a professional athlete. I was a broadcaster. I was a media person. I was a trainer. It went on and on and on. And so when you build venues like this, the job creation around it is really amazing.
Dallas has changed. It's not just a big city anymore. It's a global market.
If you needed any justification, getting a World Cup semifinal shows that FIFA now believes this is a global city. We were going to always be fourth or fifth or sixth down the line in prior World Cups because they were thinking about New York and LA, and so that was competition, San Francisco potentially. So now we've catapulted into that market. And my hope for us here is that, we're going to put on such an unbelievable event that the next time the World Cup rolls around, whether it's women's or men's, that the final will be played here in Dallas. But I think one of the striking things, being in the soccer business, so often we have international owners who are in to see their team play FC Dallas or in market because they want to open up a headquarters here in the state of Texas. And they're international companies, whatever it is. Recently, I had a Dutch club in, and they're a technology company, the guy who runs the organization. And he said, I was thinking about Austin, but I really think I'm coming to Frisco, Texas. But he said, the one thing I'm for sure about is the Texas market is a market I want to be in because I see the incentives, how pro-business these communities really are. And I'm so thankful that we're here in Frisco, Texas.
Well, I am too. And thanks for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for your leadership, because these chambers are a big deal for why, we can be successful and so many organizations, and why we live in the greatest country in the world. Whether you're truly a one-person shop or a multi-global brand, you have these, local community organizations and state organizations and federal organizations that help us grow our businesses.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hello from Austin, Texas. My name is Glenn Hammer, and I couldn't agree more with Suzanne that the state of American business truly is local. It's a message we keep in mind every day at the Texas Association of Business, the Texas State Chamber. Listening and learning from local businesses in every part of the Lone Star State is critical to our success. It's up to associations like ours to make sure that the voices of our members, businesses small and large, are heard loud and clear at the State House here in Austin. Under the leadership of our friends at the U.S. Chamber and its Federation of State and Local Chambers and Business Associations, we can reach national and global audiences with a unified voice. We expect in Texas to rally behind the U.S. Chamber on key policy initiatives, including extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, eliminating unnecessary regulations and bureaucracy via the DOGE efforts, and all the above and below energy strategy to power America, support AI efforts that encourage innovation, and oppose those that do not. As the largest export state, we will assist the U.S. Chamber to continue the most important trade deal ever signed, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. At the end of the day, all policy is local too. That's why we are proud to work closely with the U.S. Chamber through advocacy, outreach, and litigation so that Washington policymakers serve communities and people by supporting growth. The U.S. Chamber is the world's top business group. Numero uno. United, the job creators of America are a tremendous force for good. We're all looking forward to a prosperous 2025. Thank you.
Well, well, well. What an honor this is.
Stephen, good morning.
Hanging out with three strong local chamber leaders in a booming area of one of the high growth states like Texas. It's awesome. I can't wait to pick your brains. So let's start with the obvious question.
Okay.
What's the secret sauce? Like, why is this area growing so much, and what can we learn from what you have here? I'll start with you, Beth. What's going on in Irving, Las Colinas that we can learn from?
You know, we are taking care of business in Irving, Las Colinas, and we're very fortunate to be in a very vibrant state, central location, safe communities that really allow companies to have a local address with global access.
So what kind of growth are you seeing?
So we're seeing an influx of corporate headquarters, industries from fintech coming into our community, biomedical space, pharma, that's choosing to come home to Irving, Las Colinas.
And do you see your small businesses have a ripple effect impact from some of that?
When large corporations come into our community, we see that our small businesses are very excited to be able to work alongside corporate America.
It's kind of the unspoken story of that whole thing, that whole development. So how does that compare to Longview? What's going on out there?
When you were talking about your natural assets, I get to live in a part of the state where we have rolling hills, tall trees, lots of water, power's no issue, interstate, rail,
Sounds
air.
like heaven.
It is heaven. And so when you say come home, I'm thinking, oh, you came to Longview. So
There's always a competitive rivalry in the region. I love
Even
that.
in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's free enterprise at its best.
That's healthy. But seriously, the growth that we are seeing is one of our companies just is making a $1 billion a B investment in our community with a new plant. Almost all of our manufacturing facilities are expanding. Another one's going to grow by another 200 to 300 jobs. They just grew by 300 jobs. They're going to be well over 1,000 jobs. We have a Japanese company, and they're home companies. They're local. It doesn't matter where they're based are. They're a local company. But what's been fun to watch is how that has spawned entrepreneurialism in our marketplace. I have not seen in the nearly 40 years in this industry that type of mindset. It's like there's an infinite mindset that they can go out and literally pick their dreams and start their businesses, whether it's in their homes and they incubate it until they can grow out to a storefront. But we're just seeing a large growth of small businesses come back into our market.
That's exciting. Does that compare pretty much to what you're seeing in Arlington?
It absolutely does. So in Arlington, we say we're a can-do city, but the reality is Texas is a can-do state.
Yeah.
Business can succeed. They move quickly. They move at the speed of business. So all those things are basic things that help us prosper. And in Arlington, we've got entrepreneurship growing. We've got headquarters moving in. And we just have overall economic growth that's impacting across the board, no matter the size of the business.
I want to flip the script a little bit. What's some of the concerns you have? Obviously there's a lot of debate of different policies changing in Washington, D.C. What are some of the concerns you see on the horizon that you want to make sure that doesn't put off some of the growth you're seeing in this area?
What we need at the federal level, the most important thing I believe, are pro-growth economic and regulatory policy decisions.
We like to say we're consistently pulling up the red tape to roll out the red carpet for business industry. We know that change is inevitably going to occur, but making sure that, especially our small businesses, when regulation is a barrier to entry or growth, to make sure that there's an opportunity through your local chamber to have conversations with our legislators, with our lawmakers, to make sure they understand what are those barriers, and let's work to provide a solution.
And that's one of the things where a heavy-handed regulatory approach can really hit that entrepreneurship piece you talked about earlier, because a lot of times those new entrepreneurs don't have an army of accountants and lawyers and handlers to go through that. They have to roll up their sleeves and get it done. It can be very complex, and it can stifle that investment. It's a huge issue.
In our market, we have a lot of COIL, C-O-I-L, COIL companies.
Yes.
And one of them came to me recently and said, Kelly, we're producing units that's over 5 tons. But and we're a very innovative company, we're a very environmental oriented company. However, the regs that came out from the DOE, we're having to redesign everything. Well, it doesn't just impact them. We have a lot of mom and pop coil companies that support that industry.
Yes.
Do they have the ability, the resources
To pivot so quickly.
to do that and meet those standards by 2029?
And the reality is no.
They
Many
don't.
will-
So what happens?
They go out of
Those mom
business.
and pops go out of business,
Yes.
and we don't replace those jobs at the level that we have.
Yeah.
And those businesses they're passionate about sustainability, right? So
Exactly.
it's not like they're wanting to do
Right,
the wrong thing.
right.
They're wanting to do the right thing.
Their heart's in the right
Right.
place. They just
Yes.
need a good partner to help them get there.
Help them
That's
get
right,
there.
yeah.
If you want to build America, you have to have a supply chain to be able to do that.
And I think one other piece is a lot of times in DC, they'll separate big business and small business. And we were talking earlier, one of the things that really stood out to me was every small business really benefits from having larger employers nearby, from a service, from a supply chain, from a partnership. That ripple effect of impact is so critical to communities across the country. So.
Working with our large businesses day in, day out, they want to shop local, they want to shop small. And then our small businesses where they are today, if they're a key component of the company's supply chain, they want to find opportunities to scale their business. And so now we're seeing some of our local small business transition into middle market.
Right, which is the American dream in many
Yes.
ways. Let's talk about investment for a second. Obviously, Texas is a low tax state. How important is that to some of the growth you've seen here? And what concerns are you looking at from the federal level? Obviously, it's a big debate on tax this year. What are you hoping to see come out of that?
Well, to me, I think, the state being a low tax state is one of the big drivers of our economic growth. The fact that we don't have an income tax is a huge, huge driver. So I look at, the potential of the growth that I see out in the future. And one of the ways to stop that growth is to begin to overtax companies.
Yeah.
In terms of that tax, we're hearing some of our large capital projects that are in the pipeline to deploy in our local community could be on hold due to the tariff conversation. So again, just making sure as these large scale projects are securing their pricing, we want to just make sure that regulatory environment is consistent so that business industry continue to privately invest capital into local communities throughout the United States.
So I bet this is true in your world too. Mexico and Canada are our strongest trading partners in Longview.
Yes.
But we're also going into Germany. We have German-based companies, we have Japanese-based companies, and what that regulatory environment looks like depends on how much R&D starts taking place in our community. It's an investment, and that is a concern for
Right.
us.
And we want, as you have in Longview, and we do as well, you want that foreign direct investment.
Yes.
And to do that, the U.S. has to be competitive. We can't have a tax rate that chases away, because when a German company invests in Longview, that's jobs, that's revenue, that
Right.
helps us grow and our economy grow. So it's not just about domestically, it's also making sure that we're attractive around the world.
Well, I want to thank y'all for not just joining me for a cup of coffee this morning, but also for what you do day in, day out to represent your members, to be that voice that's so critical. And look, we all have a lot of good work to do over the next year or so to make sure we tell those stories. And so this probably won't be the last cup of coffee we're having over the next couple of months. But I know you'll be there anytime we call. I also want to thank Visit Frisco, because they helped a lot setting up this conversation and been a great partner on this front. So let's go get some more coffee.
Let's have some
All right.
coffee. Yay.
Thank you.
At the center of Main Street are small businesses, which make up the vast majority of U.S. business. They're pioneers of innovative practices, constantly creating new ways to serve their customers and their communities. All Metals Fabricating has been a fixture in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area since the 1950s, and they've got an eye toward the future. The machines on their shop floor are truly leading edge. As I was touring the company with its owner and CEO, Lance Thrillkill, I was amazed to learn just how far-reaching this small manufacturer's products are and how they touch people's daily lives in ways you might not expect. What do you make here?
The easiest way to say it is we can take a sheet of metal and turn it into anything. We're diversified across every industry, Our biggest industry currently is alternative energy. So you'll see out there, we make every wind turbine has a house next to it that stores the electromechanics.
Could you tell me it's called?
The doghouse.
The
They call them
doghouse.
doghouses, and the wind industry. We make F-35 fighter jet parts. We make a heart system that actually keeps you alive when you have an open heart surgery. So you name it, we can pretty much make it.
So you are buying sheet metal and then molding it and cutting it and painting it and contorting it into all different shapes and sizes to be used in all those industries.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really interesting to me because you're not only employing people here, but if you think about these parts and where they go, it's crucial to other employment in other businesses around the country, right? And so
Absolutely.
it proves what I always say, that the whole economy is an ecosystem.
Totally.
You know, it's all related.
All business, yeah.
Right? I mean, I bet a lot of your customers are big companies.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have big and small. I mean, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I look at the startups as innovation and ideas. And so if we believe in the product and the idea and see that there's a market for it, then we will, even work with a startup.
You mentioned on the floor you have an employee coming up on 50 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have people who've worked here longer than you've been alive. Yeah. And tell us about how you get that done. How is it that your people, your community, how are you serving your employees?
And it really goes back to what my grandfather and my dad instilled. It starts with just, taking care of your people.
You saw it on the sign. We care
We
more.
care more. We care more for
And
our
you
people.
said more about your people than your customers.
If you put your people first, they're going to in turn put the customer first. You take care of them and you prioritize them and take care of their needs, then, of course, they're going to put the business forward.
We're here in Dallas and in Frisco and in the whole Metroplex because we've been thinking about the conditions it takes for a company like yours to be successful. So if you believe, as we do at the U.S. Chamber, that what a job means to an individual, what it means to a community, what it means to our country, then what you do here at this factory really matters. It matters to the people who work here, it matters to your family, it matters to the people you serve, the other companies you support, rolls up to the community in our country.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with your people, right? So, I mean, my job is to serve our people and make sure that they have the tools and resources needed to be successful. And so, really, you're coaching people on life, right? Like you're teaching them on how to navigate challenges, how to navigate conflict. And so, as you teach people these life skills, that translates into their home life, their life in the community, and so it really starts with them. And then also, being part of the community, partnering with the chamber here locally. We've also partnered with different schools around the area, their robotics teams, and give the students tours so they can see manufacturing is a cool space to be. You can go straight into manufacturing and work with the coolest equipment in the world and have an opportunity to start making money day one.
So before we leave and let you get back to your important day job, you're my customer. So what do you want us to be doing for you? When we go back to Washington, what can we do to best serve you?
If we want to stay at the top of the world economy, then we have to be at top of manufacturing, especially from a defense standpoint with what's going on in the world right now. And all that comes down to is manufacturing. And in order for us to be effective in manufacturing, we have to be innovative and have to be investing in automation, robotics, AI. And so the more the government can incentivize employers to do that, the better off we as a country are going to be. Another thing is what we've seen a trend in education. They're getting back into training trades and high school level through these STEM schools and robotics. And I'm a big believer in that, in focused education. College doesn't have to be for everybody, and that's why I'm passionate about having these tours for these robotics teams in STEM school to help teach these students. We have an engineering internship program for students in the summer, the apprenticeship programs that the government's been heavily investing in that we think is a great resource for the students and for American manufacturing. And so that they can see you can make a good living right out the gate without having to incur debt.
Couldn't agree more. So you're going to go back to making things, taking care of your people, taking care of your community, and I'm going to go back to fighting for the extension of the 2017 tax cuts and encouraging more people to go into the trades. More welders. We need
Yes,
more
ma'am.
welders.
More welders, more machinists, more press brake guys, you name it.
Isn't that great? Isn't it great that we have that many things we can make in America?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The most pressing issue for the produce and floral industry is a positive regulatory environment for U.S. businesses to thrive.
What the fertilizer industry needs is a strong farm economy, and that's achieved by trade that will allow for U.S. growers to sell their corn and soybeans to major consumers like China.
America's beverage companies really need pro-growth economic policies to encourage innovation and allow us to empower consumers to take advantage of the choices that we're creating for them.
For the healthcare industry to succeed and improve patients' lives, we need the right policies in place on cybersecurity, on artificial intelligence, and on value-based care.
We need a sound tax and regulatory structure that doesn't punish American consumers and allows our entrepreneurs to do their job.
The plastics industry needs an environment where they can innovate. We are an industry of innovators, people coming up with new technologies, new capabilities, new materials every single day. The best thing that policymakers can do is encourage that innovation. Don't stifle it.
Members of the Consumer Healthcare Products Association believe that a regulatory system and a payer system that moves at the speed of business and is more predictable will go a long way to improving the public health.
So the biggest thing we're worrying about and thinking about in the food industry is regulatory issues.
We must have an employable, quality, work-ready workforce. People are going to be the future.
What the mortgage banking industry needs to grow is more housing supply. And to get more housing supply, we need to cut through the red tape, get rid of a lot of the regulations that are holding back our builders, and get more houses on the market. It'll make things more affordable and will really accelerate economic growth in this country.
America's 800,000 franchise small business owners need an end to unnecessary and burdensome regulations and an extension of the current tax rates so they can help put more people into business for themselves, but not by themselves.
In order for the engineering industry to grow, we need an expanded workforce. We need expanded energy markets. We need investment in infrastructure. And we need a pro-growth tax policy.
We need permitting reform to secure America's energy future.
America's wholesale distribution industry keeps the supply chain moving. And to make sure that supply chain is strong, efficient, and resilient, we need pro-growth policies in America, things like tax reform and regulatory reform.
The most important thing for growth for the meat and poultry industry is a stable, reliable workforce.
Competitive tax structure, high-performing infrastructure, and common sense regulations.
Restaurants need immigration reform and tax permanency.
The number one issue facing the travel industry right now is the ability to get international visitors into the country. Visas, customs, the processes that are holding these travelers back who want to come here and spend their hard-earned dollars.
It is imperative that we improve the regulatory process, and we look forward to being a resource to policymakers as we all work together to create jobs and strengthen the competitiveness of American manufacturing.
Today, we told the North Texas story of growth and opportunity. But make no mistake, this is an American story made possible by the free enterprise system that has enabled our country to build the most innovative, dynamic, and resilient economy in the world. And if you want to see our free enterprise system at its best, just look around you. The state of American business is local. We could tell a similar story from so many of your communities, cities, and regions all across the country. And we want every place, urban, suburban, or rural, coastal or middle America, Sun Belt or Northern Plains, red or blue, to achieve its unique potential for growth. Growth and opportunity are what all of us want. The business community, our partners in government, and the communities, workers, and families who together we serve. It's what Americans everywhere deserve, and it's what our future demands. Let's make 2025 the year we get growing.